Most real estate agents, they're straight up lying to you. They're afraid to tell you the truth because they don't want to lose the listing. They don't want to not get the listing and put food on their table. They're working commission check by commission check. That's how they're surviving. And I'm not one of those people and those realtors that do that. So that's why I'm gonna share with you today. You know my channel, Real Deal here. I'm here to save you tons of thousands of dollars, not lose money, okay? So right now in the market, there is a $38,000 or more, between $30,000 and $50,000 disconnect between what sellers think their home is worth and what buyers are actually willing to pay. It's not just a pricing issue, it's a financial trap that's catching homeowners off guard, draining their equity faster than they realize. That's what it does. So if you're still pricing your home like it's 2023, you're setting yourself up for months of stress and price cuts, and eventually selling for way less than you would have if you just priced it right from day one. So it's not about selling slower, it's about losing your edge. You'll lose leverage, edge, possibly your future plans, maybe where you wanted to move to. So stay with me though, because at the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why buyers are walking away and how to flip the script before it's too late. And if you want to learn more, every month I do a seminar. A big one coming up June 11th at the Fort Washington Hilton Inn, or you can watch on Zoom. Just go to Future Home Sale, that's futurehomesale.com, or the link is below, and let's sign up for it. I've got tons of people coming virtually. It's going to be live. It's going to be a great time. So what's the reality here? Well, the reality is that homes are sitting for months and months now. And why? A woman called me, Carla, the other day. My house has been sitting. My agent doesn't get back to me. She's lost interest. How can you help me? Well, the mistake was pricing. Now, I don't know what or who priced it, and we didn't get to that conversation yet. It was supposed to call today. But basically, it's the pricing issue. It's a pricing mistake. So what's the mistake is that they're pricing off of last year's comparable sales. But the really hard truth is that the market is no longer what it was even 6 months ago. Even in April, I tell you, February, March, April was amazing here. People were just paying outrageous prices for things. And it's just a slow down, like a halt, just like that. Listing prices, they're rising. They're rising faster than sale prices are. And sellers are out of sync. They're like, what happened? What just happened? I talked to realtors all over the country. They're all saying the same thing. Something flipped a switch, say around May 5th. And I think people expect in the spring market, because their most basic human behavior is that people will price based on the fact that it's spring market. They'll base on emotion. Oh, I did so much money into this house. I did so much work and my house is beautiful. Well, and they don't think about the past of what the market was doing. They don't think about is the market values today. They don't even think about it. It's like they're backwards. They're lost in time, like lost in space. I used to love that show, Lost in Space. They're just lost. Home sellers are lost right now. And they're getting bad information from realtors. It's just really bad. Most realtors don't even know what's happening because they don't have a listing-based business. They're not listing agents. They list 1 or 2 houses every 5 years. They're not listing agents. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what the trends are. You can't be a good listing agent if you're listing 1 or 2 houses a year. I know you want to list with your best friend, but if she's only selling 1 or 2 homes a year, you don't want to list with her. You want to go to my video and watch about hiring a realtor, what you really need to do to get a realtor. And I can help you. I can help you hire. I just hired 4 realtors in the last week for people. It was so much fun. We talked, I got realtors going against each other and they were talking about how they could do this or that. They were showing me this and that. But the things that they will talk to me, but they wouldn't talk to the seller if they asked the same questions. It's amazing. But anyway, let's get back to it. I do go on a rant once in a while. Today is my birthday. Yes, it is. So I'm gonna be a little more excited about things because it's another year. I seem to go faster and faster. So why is this all happening? One, I think sellers are stuck in the past. Sellers are using old comps, the wrong comps. Today's comps are using yesterday's comps. And there's changes. It just took a hard stop about a month ago. And a $500,000 buyer at a 3% mortgage, man, that was great. Now they can only afford $375,000 at the current rates of 7%. So that's a big one. I think the next reason that's come to my mind is I call it seller's emotional fixation. They're actually fixated on a number from last year that their neighbor got and they feel cheated. So let's just try. The market, I'm sorry, it doesn't care what you need. It just moves on. you missed it. The third reason is agents are avoiding tough conversations. That is really true. I mean, I went into a listing, this guy said, oh, he said I can get this and that. Well, yeah, well, I don't see how. And that agent sold one house a year. I can actually look on the multiple listings, see how many homes an agent has sold. I do it all the time. I show people, well, they sold one house. It might have been their mother's house, you know, that type of thing. So one house in 3 years, do you really want to be listing with that person? And they told you a price that's $50,000 higher than what I said, and I'm an expert? The problem is that these agents, they fear telling the truth. And that's why they price it high. They're actually there to please you. And you're like, oh, really? Like, no, that's just how it works, sorry. And pricing it too high, it hurts everybody. The agents doesn't get paid. I don't know why. They're thinking, well, I get their listing and I can tell them to do a price reduction the first week. That's what they teach you in real estate school, by the way. And then their listing becomes stale, they get really low offers, and people are just blah, giving you nothing. The real pros, like myself, they price it right from day one. And that's what you have to do. Find yourself a real pro. I can help you find someone, like I always say, put the link below and I'll be right there with you to find you a really good one. So I like to call it the domino effect. That's why I tell people when I go to their house, listen, there's a domino effect here. Here's what's gonna happen. Let me give you a snapshot. If you price your house here, which is overpriced, then here. So the timeline. The first week or two of selling your home, we call it like the honeymoon stage. There'll be no traction at all. You will get hardly any showings at all. And if you do, you'll be getting showings like, oh, it's to this or it's to that and it needs this, and it's just going to depress you. And then sometimes you get an offer that you think is too low, but it's really a great offer your first week. And then you turn it down, and then you can't even get that number 3 or 4 weeks from that day. That happens a lot. First offer is usually your best, and your good agent would tell you that. And then you get into, like, say, week 3 and 4, nothing's happening, the showings are slow, buyer agents, they call it overpriced or whatever they're saying. And you're actually talking to your seller, the buyer comes to the seller and says, listen, let's do a price reduction. And the worst part about it, they don't do anything. They don't change pictures, they don't change copy, they don't relist it as a brand new listing. It gets me so when I see that. And I did a whole video about how that worked a couple weeks ago, how this realtor did nothing in 8 months to change anything. And I sold the house for $160,000 over, net to the seller. Crazy. And now you're in month 2, it becomes stale. People are like wondering what's wrong with it. And by that time, you're definitely having some kind of price repositioning the house. You reposition, you should relist it. But this is the timeline. Panic comes in, then you have ineffective price drops because the realtor just does nothing and just drop the prices, doesn't relist. And then big losses happen because they call it the market damage, and you also have carrying costs. Now you've carried it for 3 or 4 months more than you needed to, and you're paying out all that money, which you wouldn't have to. That's how you also lose money. And it just spirals. Overpriced is like, ooh, ignored. Price cut looks like desperation. And then you get a lower final price than you would have if you just would have done it right the first place. That's the seller timeline. Do you want to have that timeline? No, that's why you should call me to find your next agent, or come to my next seminar online, futurehomesale.com, or come to Fort Washington, Hilton, that's where I'll be. Wednesday night till June 11th, have some wine and appetizers, just go to futurehomesale.com. Anyway, buyers. What's the buyer's point of view? Today's buyers are just smarter. They're more skeptical than ever. They avoid overpriced homes. They won't even walk in the door anymore. They're so smart, they're getting it. And you have to change your tune. A lot of realtors are in the business. If you're not a listing-based realtor, you don't know what's going on with listings, and you're losing out. Be with a listing-based realtor. I say it over and over again. Find someone who just works with listings and they have a track record to show it. So I did some research, and there are some hot spots. And the biggest pricing gaps I saw were West Palm Beach. It's like almost 10%. List price is rising and sale prices are dropping. Now, I also looked at Pittsburgh and Cincinnati and Atlanta, where I see that sellers are actually clinging on to inflated expectations more than other places. And then places like Jacksonville, because of the tornado, the insurance, the climate risk, the inventory's booming, is rising high. It just pressures the prices. Now, some bright spots, Philly is one of them. Newark, Cleveland, I saw Nassau County. Buyers are actually rewarding realistic price. I see better realistic pricing in no area. So the basic takeaway here is that when you price it better, you get better offers. That's the bottom line. And I think with pricing, sellers are thinking, I'm going to raise the price and then I'm not going to pay commission. So there's this commission problem. So let's talk about that right now. You know, the National Association of Realtors have that lawsuit and basically say now that buyers are now going to pay agents and they're going to sign an agent agreement right up front. And the sellers are not paying buyer agents. That's not true. It's not true. Buyer agents still getting paid by the seller in most cases. There's thinking that, okay, if I'm not paying the buyer agent, then I can save on commission. It doesn't mean you're going to price the house even higher. That's not true. It's the other way around. Buyers have less to spend if they're paying their agents. They're not going to pay you that inflated price. Now, there is a flat fee trend going on where some buyers are switching just paying flat fees. That means the agent who they're with doesn't know how to explain their value. Because if someone comes to me and asks me to do a flat fee, I'm like, no. You can find somebody who's not going to save you thousands of dollars. So that's why the pricing thing, it has to be razor sharp. I do a whole pricing video. You gotta check it out here, and it's a good one. Don't forget, come to our seminar, futurehomesale.com. You can watch it, or you can go to the link there and RSVP to get the link to the Zoom, or you can come live at the Hilton Garden Inn in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. We're gonna have wine and appetizers. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna go over all this stuff and a lot more in detail. So the other thing I was thinking about is this mortgage rate stuff. What's the reality of mortgage rates, and how does that deal with selling your home? Well, the math is there. A buyer has a $3,000 monthly payment budget. That's all they can afford. At 3%, they could afford a $710,000 house, and at 7%, then they can only afford a $450,000 house, which is, let's say, it's a $260,000 difference. $3,000 a month is a lot of money. And the cost of housing isn't keeping up with the wages. So there's the lock-in effect that we have, which we all talked about for the last 5 years. With everybody who has the 3.5, 3 or 3.5% mortgages are staying put. But it's loosening up right now. I think there'll be a silver tsunami in the next 2 or 3 years. I've been talking about it for a while. I have this whole pool of about 400 home sellers that wanted to go on the market in the last 4 or 5 years and haven't. So it's happening. And there is an equity advantage for sellers, right? They had some big gains. If you've been there since 2019 and you bought your home maybe in 2008, since 2019, the prices have gone up considerably. I mean, maybe you have an extra $150,000 to $200,000 in equity. 3% rates aren't coming back. So if you're waiting for that, you can wait for as long as you want. I know the Fed's going to be coming out with an interest rate talk this week, so hopefully they'll do the right thing. So how do you win? You know I like to win. In my book, Model Home Mindset, I talk about that in chapter 4. I like to win. You need to find an agent who likes to win, and they like to win for you. You don't want to be with a loser. No one wants to be with a loser. So how do you flip the script if you're a home seller? How do you win, all right? You know you want to win, right? You know, and I know, you know that I like winning. I just said that. I love to win. So I'm going to give you the exact strategies that are working right now for sellers, and then I'll talk about buyers too. For home sellers, you need to have reality-based pricing strategy. So you want to throw out everything you think you know about pricing, watch my video, get serious, forget about what your neighbor got, forget about everything, forget about what Zillow says or doesn't say, forget about what you think it might be worth. I'm like, I raised my kids, I put all this stuff, I put this new lighting fixture in my house, like who cares? Forget all of that. You might want to watch my video about how to stage your home, definitely watch that. But first step is the 90-day rule. I don't look at sales really from the last 2 or 3 weeks, and don't look at sales. So go back 90 days if you want sales. But for pending sales, what you want to do, the market's changing very fast. Anything older than 90 days is irrelevant, especially February, March, April settlements. I mean, they were high. So if you go back to what's pending the last 3 or 4 weeks, I know you're not going to know what the house sold for, but you could call the agent, your agent, if they're a real deal agent, somebody I'm going to refer you to. They'll call the other agent and say, hey, what did that house sell for? Did it get overpriced? Did it get this price? Did it sell this? They can find out. So you want to do that. Like you want to make sure you're pricing your home based on pending sales, what's going on right now. And no realtors I know, unless they've heard my training, or you now, if I'm telling you everybody, that's what you do. You've got to go look at pending sales. That's what the buyers are willing to pay right now. And forget about that perfect comp from 6 months ago. If it's there, and it is there, then take it down a notch, not up. Next step, we have the reality adjustment. So take those recent sales or those pending sales, I would say recent sales, like I just said, subtract like 3%, maybe 5%, depending where you are, because the market is softening and you want to price your home within 3% of the market value. You want to be priced ahead of the curve, not behind us. If you price it there, then you'll sell. That's I call it the bullseye zone. And next you want to do, in my mind, I call it the speed test. If you price your house at the jugular, where it will sell in 30 days or less. Now I know that sounds aggressive, but it works. You'll get maximum exposure. You'll have people all over the place if you price it really well. When your listing is fresh, people come. Not fresh, they won't come. Also, if you've done some of my staging, because that's really important, you got to bring them into something they want to see. Don't just leave all your stuff hanging around and price it there. And then this will also avoid the stigma of a house sitting on the market, like what's wrong with me? And you sell for more than you would have after months of price reductions. You'll definitely sell your home more if you start less. If you start here and you come down. I've seen it happen. And you also have months of carrying costs. I said that earlier. I've seen it happen over and over again. A seller priced a home, say at $449, sells it in 3 weeks for $445, makes more money than a seller who starts at, say, $479, reduces it to $469, and then $459, and finally sells to $439 after 4 months. And maybe a buyer like that who's picking on all the little things, they get really nitpicky. Oh, I hate buyers like that. And usually it results on, always get a buyer that's really picky and keeps coming back asking for more, for buyers who, when you have price reductions, this always happens. They think they got a deal and they want more. You attract that kind of buyer. So there you go, sellers. I told you I'd tell you what to do. Now, if your buyers want some things, there's a buyer advantage here. If you're listening, you're a buyer as well. You're going to have more inventory to choose from, less competition, of course. Sellers will be getting more realistic. You can actually negotiate. You can actually do home inspections now. And what you want to do, your strategy is that you just get approved. Don't wait for rates to drop. Don't wait for the rates to drop. It's not going to drop. Just if it does, it doesn't matter. You always refinance. Focus on markets with realistic pricing. Look for price reductions. Look at houses that may need work to do. Sellers are going to get more realistic, and consider new construction. 29% of home builders are slashing and cutting prices right now. And make sure you negotiate everything, guys. Closing costs, repairs, concessions. The buyers who are succeeding right now are the ones who accept current rates and focus on finding value. They're not trying to time the market, right? They're playing the market that exists today. Now, I'm saying all this about buyers, and you sellers are hearing it, because that's what buyers are going to do if you're not priced right. They're going to negotiate everything. So what's happening next? I don't have a crystal ball, but anyone tells you they know exactly what's going to happen, they're just flat out lying. But I can tell you the trends are pointing towards, and that's what I do. I look at the trends. More near term, 6 to 12 months, say, there'll be a pricing disconnect. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So most sellers will be forced to reduce prices significantly. Inventory is going to continue to rise. This is giving buyers more power. In markets where there are the biggest gaps, you'll see the biggest corrections. So there'll be an adjustment period. Sellers will eventually accept the new reality. They're going to have to kind of sort of, they won't be able to fight the market forever. You'll start seeing more of a balance. It's going to be painful for some of you who are holding on to unrealistic expectations, though. That's my job, is to really give people the truth, the real deal truth. And that's what you're looking for. So if you're looking for a real deal agent who's going to give you the truth, make sure you call me or get that link below. I can help you find a realtor. But in total reality, more long-term, we're still in a housing shortage. We need to build 18 million new housing units over the next 10 years, just to balance supply and demand. There's still that underlying shortage. It will eventually support prices again, but we need to just get through this adjustment period right now. So what's going to happen? What's the final word here? Well, the market doesn't really care what you think, only what buyers will pay. Remember that. And sellers, just price it right away. And buyers, just be smart, not emotional, and don't pay higher than you need to. But if you see a home that's priced well, staged well, buy it. Get it quickly, because someone else is going to. And don't forget to watch my next video, because you'll really see what the 8 real estate pitfalls and how to dodge every single one of them when selling your home. And I actually wanted to sing on the way out is my birthday song. So have a good day. I'm going to sit here and just enjoy my birthday. Yeah. from my mom. Isn't it cute? Have a great time. See you later.